I know which days I'm definitely busy, which means that which days, every days I'm not busy. It's like, cool, that's free game. And if you want to,
Exactly.
if something comes up the day before, the day after, or not the day after, that would make no sense, Tyra. But like,
Retroactively, no, sorry. Can we take back the hangout? We had to have something to do instead.
hello and welcome to the Process Podcast. This is seemingly the podcast where I basically bring my friends down and get content out of them. That's what we're doing nowadays. Speaking of getting content out of my friends, I've got one of my new batch of friends in the room today. Please welcome to the podcast, Chelsea.
Hi.
How are we doing today, Chelsea?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's always nice to do something creative after a full day of 9-to-5ing. Not that you would understand that anymore, but...
It's been a whole, 14 months without doing a 9-to-5, and I almost can't imagine doing one ever again at this stage now.
Just living your best life, thriving.
Oh gosh, yes, you are one of those creatives that is balancing the 9-to-5 with the creative life, and we'll probably go into it properly later, but how is that balance going for you?
It's interesting. It's not as bad as I thought it would be, just because I do enjoy my job. My job is fine, and that balanced with the passion of the creative side tends to keep me going. I do think that every few weeks I have a bit of a crash out and no one hears from me for like 3 days because I'm in a ball in my room.
Yeah.
But then it's fine. We rinse and repeat and we go again.
Oh God, the amount of crash outs. And I think one of the biggest, not crash outs, but the burnout is the poets that come onto this scene as like, there's so many open mics, I'm going to go to all of them all the time. And then they get to a point where I can't keep doing that. But speaking of which and all of that, the way I like to start all these podcasts is going into how did we first meet? So I ask that as if I'm expected to be that different between people. Most often it's we met at a poetry thing.
So Tyrone and I met at a gecko racing event. I was betting on one and he was betting on another one, and neither of our geckos won, and we commiserated at the pub afterwards.
The worrying thing is the first thought I had in my head when you said gecko is because the other day it was Harry Baker's book launch, and this singer called Gecko was one of his opening acts. So part of me was like, how can I work in a gecko was running? Can I fit that in at all? No. I mean, I can fit
so
this
even
part
choosing geckos, it still links back to a poetry event for you.
Everything links back to poetry.
All roads lead back to poetry. No, we did meet at a poetry event.
Yeah.
Did we meet at a spit night?
This is the thing, because I feel like the first time I remember seeing you perform would have been at the One Night Slam one you performed at.
Yes, that was when we, I think, actually introduced to each other, met. Yeah.
I think there's definitely, I don't know when you first went to Spit, so there's probably a case of we were in the same room at the same time kind of thing. I don't think I remember seeing, because I don't think you've been on the open mic at Spit yet, have you?
No, I haven't performed at Spit. Danny Mash, book me. No. No, I haven't. I haven't performed at Spit yet. I just go for the vibes. So.
No, I'm realizing I'm also in the whole when did I meet people thing. I'm also in that phase of, because of how much I edit videos of people performed. I know you because I've watched a video of you, but we've never spoken. Yeah.
No, so it would have been the One Night Slam, and then like connecting better at Rhymes and Stitches, and the rest is history.
Well, yes, because I think Rhymes and Stitches was that beautiful thing of the very few events that are on a Friday night, which means that people feel obliged to, I can stay out for that one drink more, etc.
Little cheeky extra pint.
Oh, bless. But yes, we are now going to go into our first section of the podcast, which is called Timelines.
Timelines. And we're not talking the Marvel Extended Cinematic Universe.
Don't tempt me. I am really fascinated where we go for this timeline section, because off-camera stuff I've been talking to you just about in general about your life, and I always find it amusing because there will be a new little tidbit or something that comes up and it's like, I need to know more about that, etc. But we're focusing obviously like on your whole creative side, and as is may come up here. There's a lot of facets to your creativity and your creative side.
Yes.
So I guess looking at your past, like, were you always someone that was a creative person, and has it always, obviously I know you now mainly as poets, but like, was it always, I want to lead into poetry, or what was your upbringing creatively like?
Oh gosh. I started as a theatre kid.
That makes all the sense now.
Yeah, I was a very precocious child. That's the nicest adjective I can put to it. And my parents recognized that from a very early age. And so they put me into a stage school, a sort of like after school activity that was all to do with theatre. And so I did that from, God, I would have been maybe 6 or 7. It was very, very early, I went with that all the way through until I was like 16 or 17. So I was a theatre kid. I can still recite the Jabberwocky poem from memory from that. But poetically, this is a cool story. Cool story? I'm going to go with cool. I like it. I distinctly remember the first time I ever encountered poetry and the first time I ever wrote a poem. And it was because, so as you can tell from talking to me for 30 seconds, I'm Australian. And in Australia, we have a commemorative day called Anzac Day, which pays respect to a time in World War I where a lot of Australian and New Zealand soldiers died during a campaign in Turkey. And in school, in primary school, they sort of coupled learning about Anzac Day with a unit on poetry for English, which, you're thinking, how do you do that? Essentially, you ask a bunch of children to write a poem about Anzac Day.
I mean, part of me wants to say that was weird, but also I know that so much of the poetry that I remember doing in school was war poetry and your Wilfred Owen stuff. So it's like, no, that tracks.
Yes, yeah. And so there was this, they did a school-wide competition essentially that was everyone had to write a poem about Anzac Day, and then they would pick the best poem of each year level or each grade to perform it and read it out. Yours truly got picked, and this was, I think, year 4 or something, so I think I was 9.
That makes sense in my head.
Yeah, we're going to go with around there. But I wrote this, very simple poem, and I really, really liked it, the structure of a poem. I was like, oh, this is cool. Words that rhyme. I've always loved English. And so that was sort of the distinct memory I have of starting to write poetry. The Jabberwocky recital had been before that, so I knew that it existed. But also the Jabberwocky is gibberish, like complete and utter gibberish, so I never counted it as a poem until later in life. I never realised the majesty that is Lewis Carroll. But so I wrote this Anzac Day poem and realised, oh, this is a great way to put big feelings into words, because I sucked at journaling, hated keeping a diary, but found that anything that happened to me, I could write a poem about. And so I took that with me for, I guess, up until now, to date. I've been writing poetry since I was 9 years old. I'm a prodigy.
I mean, to be fair, that beats me, because I would keep saying I started poetry when I was 13 years old. So there you go.
Well, if you ever need any tips, let me know.
So like, I'm guessing from the whole theatre kid and starting doing creative stuff when you were like 9, like, or have you, for the most part, always been comfortable on stage, or?
Yes.
So, is there one I can go on now? Like are we performing now? Is that the right?
Let me just no. Yes, I've always been very extroverted, very outgoing, very confident, and just always loved sharing things with an audience. There's nothing better than someone listening to you, except for like 100 people listening to you all at once. I've always loved the stage, although I never, in regards specifically to poetry, I never performed any poetry until I moved to London. So I moved to London about 9 months ago, so June last year. And up until that point, aside from my Anzac Day poem, when I was 9 years old, I had never performed any of my poetry. It always felt I mean, like I said, it's like a diary. It was like journaling for me. And so it always felt way too personal because I felt like it was identifiable. I was like, oh, so-and-so is going to know that I'm writing about them and that time that they pissed me off. And so I was like, I can't read this out anywhere. And then I moved across the world and I was like, this is far enough away that no one will
no
hear
one here
it.
knows me, so I can talk about my feelings now to people. And yeah.
Exactly. And then I stupidly started an Instagram for it and the algorithm was like, oh, I recognize this. Let's send it to everyone. So yeah, it is what it is now.
Yeah, fair. Well, like, again, I guess for you then, like, you mentioned how you got into poetry as such, but, like, was spoken word a thing you were aware of? When did spoken word, in however you want to define it, become something you were aware of?
Oh God, it kind of didn't until I came to London, and I know now a lot of my poetry, a lot of my work leans into the spoken word sort of style. It's not as prescriptive or structured as a rhyming couplet poem or a sonnet or whatever you want to say. But I never realized that was what it was until coming to London and experiencing the scene and getting to know the community and all these different styles. And I was like, oh, I recognize, I see. I'm in no way, shape or form a professional. I never studied poetry. I don't have a lot of technical know-how about it. It's just these are the thoughts in my brain and sometimes they sound nice.
Well, then on that, then obviously now you are in London. So looking at your present now, like we touched on it very briefly beforehand, but we've got the very not staged job.
Yes.
But then also doing your spoken word stuff, as well as just like you've done a bit of hosting and just like storytelling and stuff as well. So like, where is your creativity at the moment? What are we doing with it?
We're having the time of our life, Tyrone. We're just loving it. That was very Australian. The accent will come out every now and again.
No, bring it.
Yeah, it's so interesting to look at where I'm at now because 9 months ago, I would never have said that this is something I'd be doing, that this is something I'd be performing. If anything, I might have said, oh, I'll join like an amateur theatre company and get back on stage.
Which you still could do.
Which I could. Who knows? I've never met something I wouldn't try twice. So... but no, I'm in a really good space at the moment where I am just enjoying exploring this new community and this new space that I found myself in. I genuinely, and I think that a lot of people can relate to this, I have met some of my best friends through the poetry scene and through the sheer amount of community that there is, that exists here. And so at the moment, that is just the best thing since sliced bread. It's the most important thing to me to continuously be going to new nights, going to the nights that I love, seeing my friends at them, making friends with poets. It's it's inspiring. It's amazing. I'm writing more now because I'm around more creatives. So it's just this constant feedback loop of inspiration, write something, maybe perform something that then inspires me to go somewhere, to meet someone, to be inspired, to write something and so yeah, it's beautiful at the moment.
Nice. And like with the writing, like, are we writing about like anything specific? Is it a thing of like, oh, I'm in a writing about womanhood mood or whatever kind of vein? Like I do a lot of freaking black poems quite a lot, and I have those phases of that. So like, are we in I'm writing about something specific, or just this thing inspired me today and that thing inspires me tomorrow kind of thing? Where are you with the writing?
Yeah, I think that I still naturally write a lot of poetry based off what is happening at that point in my life. So it's been really interesting. I can almost track the phases of my life through my poetry and what I'm going through. So at the moment, I'm writing a lot about change and a lot about London and a lot about being far away from things that you've known, but discovering new things that you really like, because that is reflecting my character growth and where I'm going at the moment. I do find that I'm influenced by events or I guess things that are happening around me as well, especially, around International Women's Day. I was inspired to write about the women in my life, or, going through a heartbreak. I was inspired to write sad things, going on terrible first dates or going on great dates. It just like the things that are surrounding me in my life are what inspire the writing, which is why I like to keep really busy, because if I'm not doing anything, there's nothing to write about.
No, that makes sense. And like with that done, are we still also, because it's still the first year of being here, are we still looking at like new nights? Have we kind of settled into, I like these ones, so I'm going to kind of stick with this for now kind of vibe?
Oh, I think a little bit of both. I definitely have my favorite nights, or the nights that I always try and get to, whether it be like the event itself is incredible or most of my friends are there. I'm friends with the host, shout out One Night Slam. So there are definitely nights that I will regularly try to get to every time, or at least most of the time. But around that, I mean, London, you could go to 3 different poetry events every night if you wanted to. There's an incredible amount on offer, and so I don't think I'll ever be done finding new nights and exploring the community, because there's always a new night, there's always a new person, there's always a new poet. So it's keeping that balance of the familiar, which is really comforting and nice, and the new, because I am still in a phase where a lot of things are new to me here.
Nice. And well, like, not to almost put you on the spot, but obviously with where you are now, looking to the future now, like, I'm assuming to some level it's probably too early to say, here's my future goals and plans for poetry things, but like, have we started to put anything on a bucket list of like, oh, this is a fun art form, I now want to, again, whether it's just a thing of I want to, books seem cool, I want to have a book published, or just I want to look to feature at a night at some point, or how I want to have a night that I'm hosting on a regular basis. Like, is there anything on the bucket list in the future right now, or are we still just enjoying it and seeing what happens?
It's very interesting to look forward, because I originally, even when I first came here and first started reading poetry, I was only supposed to be in London for 12 months. So I very much viewed it as, oh, this is a cool, fun thing, and maybe I'll do it when I get back home, but it's temporary. And so I had no aspirations with it. It was just have fun, read some poems. Whereas now, I've fallen in love with this city, much to my mother's chagrin. And I am looking far more long term. And part of that is sort of looking at this community that I've so immersed myself in and think, what, if anything, do I want out of it? And I think that primarily my goal still remains the same of just have fun, read some poems, hear some poetry. And as long as it remains a passion for me, that is enough. That being said,
that was the wholesome, nice, like,
yeah,
polite
that was
answer
the nice answer that you can post now, between us.
Yes, but now also I want to like win every single slam. I want to get every single belt.
But also, I would like there to be an Australian as the English national slam champion. I think that's really great.
I mean, how Maureen Onwinali, who is a I want to say Nigerian Irish poet, wrote a poem about what it's like to be British. So fuck it, you can go for it.
Exactly. I've already written about my local bus route, so that's all. I'm on my way. No, there are definitely aspirations that have risen in me. Also, thanks to the amazing opportunities that have naturally, I won't say fallen into my lap, because I put a lot of emphasis on my own abilities and my own go get it attitude. But I've had the incredible opportunity to read at some great events. I've won a slam or two. And that sort of I guess I could call it a trajectory I've been really, really enjoying. So I wouldn't say that I have a particular goal to, I want to headline this event or win this many slams. But I do enjoy the idea of, as I become more entrenched in this community, there will be more opportunities to share my work with wider and wider audiences. So that in and of itself is fantastic. And I've started co-hosting a regular event called the Echo Chamber. And that is also just a phenomenal experience for me. The founder and my co-host, Michael, has given me an absolute honor by allowing me to be part of that team. And it has reignited my passion for creating a space, which obviously you, as someone who hosts multiple nights yourself, can understand.
I will always love people's reaction to something like a one night stand or a process, because part of me is like, I'm just putting on the night because someone offered me a space for free and I can do this kind of thing. And I love that communities are happening, and it's that thing of like, I don't feel responsible, but I am and I'm not. And it's that thing of like, I just let the space in here and I forget how much of it is that's part of it. There's so many people that don't have a space in the first place, that you're giving them a space. And almost the nature of not bringing too much extra thought to it, and I think of like, I'm letting you do whatever you want to here kind of thing, is like, I can do anything here and you're fine with it and you're gonna let me.
Poet karaoke.
Oh gosh. It was one night. To be, it's one of the things where, because I've got at least access to one venue that I've got a good relationship with the owners, there is definitely a space of, what time do I ask for a favour to do an extra one-off night thing? So it's definitely on the list of things. But I guess when it's come up a few times with other people as well, but for you especially, now obviously the fact that we were the theatre kid growing up and all that stuff, have we ever thought about looking into getting a kind of creative job at some point in the future, or we said like, this is going to be hobby and like it as a hobby and never be the profession?
Yeah, that kind of is where I sit with it, because I'm really passionate about it, and I have a lot of different creative avenues that I pursue in my life. And for me, I think a big part of enjoying that creativity comes from the lack of pressure around that creativity. So even things like I look at like full-time poets who are going on these national tours and publishing, and it's incredible. And I would love to say that I could do that, but I don't think that I will, because as soon as there is this somewhat self-fabricated pressure on me to be creative or to perform or to come out with things, it shackles me, and I tend to just sort of arc up a bit and say, no, thank you, don't want to anymore. So I don't think I ever would have a full-time creative job. I also don't, we live in a capitalist society. Yeah. Everything is monetized. But I do very firmly hate that idea of you have to monetize your passion for it to be quote unquote worthwhile, which obviously is not true. But I think I fall firmly in the camp of, I do not want to accidentally put myself into that shoebox of, well, now I need this to survive.
My phrasing has always been, I don't want to have to write a poem to pay my rent, basically.
Perfect. I'm going to steal that.
But yeah, I respect that. And for that, it's one of those things where, like, if someone backs up here with a dump truck of money to say to write poetry, I'm not going to say no.
Oh my God, of course not.
I mean, I don't know who's ever doing that. I'm open. But...
And the address you can find is...
But yeah, they're very much one of those vibes where I like... It's not that I don't ever... It's not that poetry can never be a job and that kind of thing, and not that I would never do it ever, but things of like, I've never felt especially looking at the way people do it, I just don't want to do the things that they are doing, and I'm enjoying doing it as the fun thing on the side. And also, it's gotten me this far, so might as well just keep doing it the way I'm doing it, because something's working.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not saying that I'll never publish a collection. I hope one day that I publish a collection. That would be absolutely incredible. I would love to headline some events and everything. But I think that for me personally, the second that it mentally shifts into being a job, will lessen my enjoyment of it.
Well, yeah, because even with that, like, I published, both of my collections were published whilst I was working full time. So it is also that thing as well of, like, there are also spaces in this scene for still having your full time job and doing the collection, and it not being, I'd like to think as well, coming to it with the attitude of, like, it's not like the full time job is just there to fund the poetry, if you will. Because I think for you at least, it seems as well, like, for the most part, you enjoy the job you are doing. For the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, any job is always going to have its ups and downs, but
sure. Yeah.
It's the difference of you are doing a job that you have chosen to do and it's in the field that you wanted to, etc. It's not like I have applied for the job down the road because I needed money right now and I'm just doing this just to pay rent kind of job.
Yes, exactly. It's, it's a standard 9 to 5. I get to, for the most part, leave on time. It gets me into a routine, which I'm a very routines-based person. I love a pattern. And so it, in its own way, having a structured 9 to 5 then allows me the freedom to, outside of that, I can do whatever I want. I know that my bills are paid, my rent is paid. I'm, putting money into superannuation. Sorry, a pension. Again, that's Australian. And outside of that, I have the space to do whatever I want because I am not worried about living in this world.
I know that I've got evenings and weekends free so I can plan around that versus working a 0 hour or freelance thing, which means, like me at the moment now, things are like, I don't know when I'm next going to be free, so I want to come to your thing, but there is every chance that I can get a text saying, can you do a shift tomorrow, etc. And I'm in a position where financially it's hard to say no to some of that stuff, depending on that makes sense for the future of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I know myself well enough. If I could never be self-employed because nothing would get done. I would just sleep until 2 p.m. every day. My job is nap.
I have been learning a lot about myself since I've been self-employed, and I am impressed that I've made it this far so far. But also there were definitely a couple of days when it's like, no one's given me a deadline for this thing. So it's not getting done then.
Yeah, that's a tomorrow problem and a tomorrow problem and a tomorrow problem.
Like until you tell me it needs to be given to you tomorrow, this is a bad thing to put online. The fact that I still need to get jobs and work, but nevertheless, it's all fine.
He's great. Employ him.
Hey, if you give me a deadline, the deadline is met. If you don't give me a deadline, well, that's on you. Sure.
Exactly.
That's not so fine. But that makes sense for you. Well, from this section, we're going to go into our next section called Let's Talk About. One of the things I want to talk about with you is, and I always find it interesting whenever people move from even just one city to another and adjusting to that. And one of the things that, not to do, like it's a major thing, but one of the things I think is always a almost unspoken thing is like when English language people move from country to country, there was almost an assumed thing of you're going to adjust perfectly when you come here and whatnot. So like, at least with a creative lens in this, how has it been coming over here and getting into the scene here? Like how much of it has been like I don't understand what you're talking about, I'm just going to smile and nod during this poem or whatever. How has that been for you?
It's been an adjustment, and it was a bigger adjustment than I thought it would be for sure. Because I'm from an English-speaking country. I came to an English-speaking country, the motherland. They finally pardoned me. But there are these cultural differences, not so much language, although there are a few things that have caught me out in terms of just straight up words, because I call trousers pants. And one time I was talking to someone, I said, oh, someone just complimented my pants. And they were like, why are they seeing your underwear? Chelsea. But I meant trousers, things like that. Or why do you call it red sauce? It's tomato sauce or ketchup. Like, red sauce is not a thing. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. There are, especially when it comes to the creative scene, there have been, I guess, some cultural differences in terms of there are some really beautiful poems about English culture or British culture, especially around everything that's been going on around nationalism. Sonny Green's obviously now phenomenally well-known poem about what England means to him. And it's been really interesting coming in to a new country with none of the backstory and letting poets give me the history. It's been really beautiful because obviously poets are able to view things in such a unique and personal way, not only to them, but just in general as creatives and for the most part, like empaths and softies. Sorry, calling you out.
That was softies.
And so it's been really, really nice to become immersed in English culture through the lens of the poetry community, because it is such a, I'll use the word again, it's such a soft lens for the most part to view things. You get to know what people love about their country, their local street. One of the first poems I wrote after coming to London was about my local bus. Shout out 37 to Peckham. But it came about because I'd been listening to poets talk about English things. One of my best friends, my best friend who I've made here, her name's Nick. She has a poem all about South London. It's an ode to a South London night, and she name drops so many suburb boroughs.
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 Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
She name drops boroughs. She talks about stereotypes in different areas, the drinking culture, all these different things that are particular and important to her about loving South London. And there are many, many examples of this kind of poem that I was hearing, and I was like, oh, what's my experience of London? And I got to create this little snapshot of, oh, well, to me, at the moment, England is the Route 37 bus to and from my house to my work and what I see on that, and being able to expand from that and view London as a city, England as a country, view it as something poetic has been really, really nice.
Nice. And obviously within that, you'll also get some, I'm assuming at least you'll get some specific references to British culture, which things are like, I have no idea what this thing you've mentioned is at all.
Okay. I have a really obvious example of this, and I'm sort of calling myself out as being so ignorant to British culture. But there's a poet on the scene. His name's Tony Bell.
Yes.
And he has a poem, and there's a line in his poem about how he was in EastEnders once, and he was a pair of eyes looking through someone's letterbox, and this line kills. Every time I've heard him perform this poem or seen him perform this poem, this line kills. Everyone's laughing. To this day, I don't know why. I don't know what EastEnders is. I don't know what a letterbox has to do with it. And everyone's laughing. I'm like, cool. I'm appreciating the energy in the room, but I have no idea what's going on.
I don't even know how much I can properly explain of EastEnders at the moment now. Without the knowledge, what do you think or what do you believe EastEnders is to be? Let's go from this perspective.
From context, I'm pretty sure it's a TV show.
Yeah.
That's all I've got.
So EastEnders is I don't know if it is the longest running, but it's one of our longest running soap operas. Okay. So it's like your Neighbours. I was going to go for a Neighbours.
Yeah?
It's like how cliche is it for us to mention Neighbours? Is that
No. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. I've seen Neighbours more than I've seen Home and Away.
Fair.
So we'll stick with Neighbours.
This one time remembers that like back in the day, mum, there was the morning routine of mum would be watching like weird TV shows, and it would be they'd have Neighbours and Home and Away on early in the morning, and I'd wake up long enough to like it just became part of the routine. It was always on the TV kind of thing at early in the morning. But you know, EastEnders are just like British soap opera, and thus there'll be so many soap opera tropes and things and whatnot happen in that. So
okay, so the eyes in the letterbox thing.
More again, I can't think of the specific reference for that, but more just I think more the idea of like we all know EastEnders, etc.
Sure.
And EastEnders had enough moments that whilst Letterbox in particular, it wasn't like, oh my god, it's that moment kind of thing. More that thing of, oh, it's EastEnders. Okay, cool. We all know of EastEnders in that kind of a way.
Sure. Okay.
Well, like again, like, on this, and like, how is it affecting your like appreciation of poems, etc.? Like, obviously, I think it happens with any reference that you don't understand of things. Like, as someone who's very aware of how many pop culture references he does, it's trying to make it accessible to people. But like for you, when it comes to a lot of the like culture ones, how much of it does it change your appreciation of the poem? How much of it does it make you want to kind of go like, must Google that later?
Genuinely, every time. One of the first poems that I heard at Spit Night actually was, and I cannot remember her name. No, it's gone. But she did the most phenomenal poem that at the time I didn't appreciate because I'd only been here for maybe a month. But she had the most incredible poem. It was somewhat of a love poem, somewhat of a call-out poem, but she essentially crammed in as many tube station names into this poem as she could. And they were phenomenal. It was one of the cleverest pieces of writing I think I've ever heard. And listening to it at that point, I didn't appreciate it as much because I didn't have the context. But even without the context, it almost fueled the passion of like, oh yeah, I'm in a new city. I'm going to get to like experience and go and see all these places. And this is the nerdiest thing ever, but I have a reminder in my phone calendar for 12 months. Like I set a reminder in my calendar that night, and that's how I'll find her name, because I set a calendar reminder to go back and find that poem again in 12 months and see how much I now recognize or how much it has changed and everything. So it's been phenomenal. It's been absolutely phenomenal to hear all of these new things. And again, it sort of goes back to that idea of experiencing London through poems or through poets' eyes, and being able to, well, if I don't understand the context, it makes me want to know the context. It makes me want to Google it, go and see that place, go to that bar, order that drink, yada, yada. You know, there's a line in one of Kofi Achina's poems where he's like, £9 for a pint of Moretti or something like that. And the first time I heard it, I was like, is that a lot? I have no context. I'd pay £9 for it. Is that bad? Like, am I getting ripped off? Whereas now I'm like, yeah, fuck that.
And then I guess like not on the flip side, but then on your side of things, obviously a lot of your cultural touch points or whatever would be ones that these audiences aren't as familiar with, etc. So when it comes to writing poems for you, like how are you navigating that?
Yeah, that's a really interesting one. So I don't think I have a lot of Australia specific poems. Very recently, or in the past couple of months, I wrote a poem about there was a terror attack at Bondi Beach back home, and I wrote a poem about that. And I remember the first time, I've only performed it, I've only read it out 3 times. Yeah,
because you read it at One Night Slam last time you were there.
Yeah. The first time that I read it was at Poets Palace. And I remember beforehand thinking about it, thinking that I wanted to read this piece because it was really important to me. But I did have that moment of, is this too far removed from the space that I'm in? Is this the right space to read this in? And I actually spoke to my mum about it, because I called her and I said, Mum, I've got this poem, but it's about Bondi, it's about the attack, and it's really important, and I don't want to not waste it, but I don't want to not have it get the space that it needs, or feel like I am shouting into a void about something this important. And bless my mum, she's the best. She gives the best advice. But she basically, I sort of read it to her, and she just turned around and she said, people need to hear this. It doesn't matter where you are, what country you're in, people need to hear this. And so I did. I read it out, and it got an amazing reception. People were, funnily enough, it had the same effect that a lot of English poems or London-based poems had on me. I had so many people come up to me and say, wow, I had no idea about this event, or I didn't know that it happened, or how bad it was. It makes me want to go away and research it and find out more. And so that was a really beautiful moment for me, to not only honor the victims of such a terrible tragedy and experience this in a way that I could and put it in my own lens, but to give other people who may have never gotten the opportunity to know about it a space to learn and grow. And again, shout out to poets. They took that opportunity with both hands, and it's been one of the greatest privileges of this entire 9 months of doing something, is just being able to offer that to people.
And then on, I guess, the more micro level from it all, in a similar vein to Tony Bell, when you get maybe the odd line here or so, though, like, is it easier? Again, easy is probably the wrong word to use here, but like with something like that poem, that is all about an incident, so the whole poem as well as just explain the incident. But like, if it is a case of like referencing like the TV shows you used to watch or places you used to go, etc., have you ever got pause of like, no one here is going to understand this TV show, knows this musician, etc., so I have to not put that line in, kind of thing?
Yeah, I'm trying to like think back through my back catalogue.
All the poems and all the many.
Yeah, exactly. Every word I've ever written. Do I mention Brunswick? No, I don't think that currently I have any poems or any lines that are so specific that no one would recognize it from an Australia perspective. I think there's a few poems that would have lines that only mean a certain context to me. I have a poem that's about my grandmother and about growing up in her house, and there are very particular parts of that poem that obviously I read and I look at and I know exactly what I'm talking about, but understand that other people will just see it as a line or a descriptor, which I think is very common, obviously, if you're writing something that personal. But no, I haven't quite tried to write a specifically Australian poem. I think that should be a challenge for me. If I can write about a local bus here, I think I should be able to write about a train line back home. Shout out to the Pakenham Cranbourne line. I'm doing a lot of shout outs tonight.
We love a shout out. No, I mean, it's one of the things that I think about a lot, like whenever I'm writing poems, because like one of my overall things is I love when a poem is so uniquely the poet's that only that poet could write it. That's one of my favourite. That'll always be the thing I would say. That's what makes me like a poem. And like trying not to discredit too many poems, such but like there are some poems that feel like the writing is good, but if you gave that to the next poet up, it'd be the exact same poem and nothing changes. I want something that only that poet could write, and whether it is the references and things they pull in it or their way of speaking and talking, those are things that I look for. So I always like those personal bits in there, but obviously with that there was that balance of no one gets this line. And I am always also that person that's thinking of like, if I'm sharing it in front of the audience and this line is only for me, does this line stay in the poem? Which is always one they go back and forth in. But
of course.
Taking a step back a little bit with all this stuff, like when it came to like poetry here, I've talked to a few poets on this podcast about like, how they kind of came into poetry, and like one of the ones that comes to my head most recently is that when I had Sarthak on the podcast, he was talking about how he first found poetry here, and he just Googled it and basically went to the first night he Googled it, etc.
Yeah.
So like,
I saw a post on a Facebook community page, and that's how I went.
Using Facebook as well.
Yeah, I know. I don't, because it was.
Do you still use Facebook then?
No, I don't. That's what makes it even weirder. This is what makes it fate. It was destined to be, because I first came and I was staying with a friend, and this friend lived in Putney as well, which is where I've ended up living, and that's as specific as I'm going to get. Somewhere
Dox yourself on the podcast.
Yeah. My address for that big truck of money for poetry. So yeah, she lived in Putney, and living with her for a few weeks, I found that I really liked the area. And then I moved out of that friend's house, and we sort of like lost touch.
I like how you've been in London for like less than a year, and I feel like you've moved more than I have.
I did. I moved through like 5 forms of accommodation. It was crazy. But yeah, so I moved out of her house, and then we lost touch, and it was at that point, because she was a friend from Australia, and so I'd moved and I knew her, like I knew someone who lived in London, so I wasn't alone. And then we lost touch, and I was like, oh, I'm actually alone. And the day that happened, I got accepted for a house, like a flat, and it was in Putney, and I was like, right, I'm going to be staying in Putney. I don't know anyone. I haven't started my job yet. I have zero contact with anyone. So I've got to find something to do. I have to do something. And so I went on Facebook and I joined a Putney community group, and I was like, there'll be something to do. And that day, the Poets in Putney event had posted up that it was their inaugural, like their first ever open mic night that night. And I literally was like, well, I've written a poem or two in my time. And again, I had never thought about performing, but I was across the world. I didn't know anyone. I had no friends, no community. I was like, okay, I'll just go and listen to some poetry. Why not? And so I went to this Poets in Putney event, and that's where I met Nick, my best friend.
Nice.
And it was also her first ever open mic ever. And so we bonded a bit over that. And yeah, got to read some poems out. And I distinctly remember that night I did it, and I was like, oh, that was a bit of fun. Didn't think anything of it. And as I was leaving, someone pulled me aside and said, hey, I really loved your work. Do you post it online? Like, where can I find you? And it was almost like the dots finally connected, and I was like, oh, I can do this more often, or this can be an ongoing thing. I had viewed it as just a once-off, I need something to do tonight. But I was like, oh, maybe this is a thing. And Nick had been to a couple of other events just as an audience member before, so she knew of a couple of different nights, and then we went to those nights and made more friends who knew about more nights, and you know, poetry begets poetry, and I ended up falling into it. But yes, I consider it very much fate, the sequence of events that led me to my first ever open mic.
Fair. And like, it's like, you obviously mentioned how you was writing stuff beforehand, so it was probably only here when it came spoken word stuff. Like, how much did the writing change when you came over here? Like, did it change much, or was it a case of like you were almost writing spoken word stuff anyway, and it happened? So, this fits here fine, so I can just keep doing this.
Yeah, it definitely was a bit of that. This might sound really odd, but I never thought that I was a good poet because I didn't write in rhyming couplets. I didn't have iambic pentameter. It wasn't, you know, as structured as we spoke about. And so I do think that I've always leaned more towards the spoken word style more. But obviously, having not studied it, not encountered it, not being immersed in that scene, I just always thought, oh, well, I'm just not that good at poetry. But it's fine because I like it and it's just for me. I'm not performing it anywhere. And then, going to that first night and reading my own stuff out, I sort of, obviously I wasn't attached to an outcome because it was just fun for me. And then having someone pull me aside and say, hey, that was really great, da-da-da. I was like, oh, cool. Like one person appreciates what I did there. But then going to a few more nights and being exposed to more of a spoken word style, and obviously every poet under the sun here has a different style and rhythm and structure and this and that. I was like, oh, it seems like such an obvious thing to realize, but poetry can be anything you want. Spoken word can be whatever you want it to be. And as soon as I realized that, I realized that the way I was writing things is actually fine and might actually even be kind of good sometimes.
Well, like, to not finish off this section, but like kind of on the writing thing as well, then like, you've mentioned the rhyming things a lot, etc. Like, you very much feel like you are drawn to rhyme in the poetry, etc. Like, how have you attempted? How are you feeling about the whole like, what if I write a poem that doesn't rhyme, or like, also just in general, like things of like now that you're doing it more, it's definitely a temptation of like, well, let's try doing this thing or that thing. Like, where are we with that? Yeah, no, let's not do it. Let's not do everything just yet.
No, for sure. I do. I find it really hard. So I would say that in terms of style, my style is naturally I have a lot of internal rhymes.
Yes.
Just because it scratches my brain good.
Yeah.
And I found that since being here and being exposed to so many different poets who are all incredible in their own right, rhyming, not rhyming, structure, no structure, whatever it happens to be, I find myself constantly inspired to challenge myself to write differently. And it's been very hit and miss. I was actually talking to someone about this the other day because I came to the realization that the poetry that I write naturally, or my style, is not necessarily my favorite poetry to listen to or hear.
Yes.
And when I realized I was listening to pieces by poets that I really, really love to listen to the performances of. And it inspired me. I was like, I want to write like this because this is my favorite poetry to hear and listen to. And I tried and I failed miserably. And it was just this, it was having to come to peace, like come to terms with that and be at peace with the fact that I can enjoy something without being able to do it myself.
Yes.
And so I am now, I think, constantly exploring different types. I'm challenging myself to write about different subject matter or write in a different way. But there is also this, very Zen understanding of, well, I can enjoy experiencing this without needing to be able to do it myself, which has been really nice. You know, like your style of poetry, the way that you are able to just rapid fire spit out these incredible lines and still get across such a poignant meaning. It's baffling to me. I love listening to you perform, and I'm okay with the fact that I could never write like that.
I was at an event called Voicebox end of last month. I'm saying last month. The internal Tyrone is going, I don't know exactly what date this podcast is coming out, and I now feel like I'm lying because I'm saying it was last month, but actually it was a month beforehand when you watch. It doesn't
lying
matter.
To your viewers.
This is just Tyrone overthinking this, but I was at an event called Voicebox, and it's run by a friend of mine, Luke Thomas, and unsurprisingly, because it's me, I was working it because I can't go to events and not work it. The only one I've been to recently when I haven't worked is Kofi's one, and that's because it was a charity thing. And there was at least a moment when it's like, I'm good. I can just turn up. It's like, it's charity, Tyrone, pay for the fucking ticket. Just do that. But no, I was at Voicebox, and
I worked it and I paid for my ticket. I'm just saying.
We get it. You're a good person. No, I was at Voicebox and I did a poem to end the night there. It went down really well. A lot of people were like compliment me afterwards, and I really love that. And there was one of the performers who came up to me afterwards and said like they really enjoyed it and that I spoke faster than they think. And part of me is like, thank you, but also that feels like it's not a compliment. like the inflection says compliment, the look on your face says compliment, the fact that we're still talking says compliment, but also there's a bit of a cool, sure.
No, but I think I would agree with that in a complimentary way, because I 100%, you do speak faster than I think, but not in a sense that I don't understand what you're saying. It's in a sense of, no, I am forced to feel your poetry and let it wash over me instead of trying to analyze it at the time. Like the introspection with your poetry comes after the fact. The fact of the matter is, while you are performing, the only thing that I can do is listen and let you tell me the story, because I can't be trying to think, oh, where's he going to go with this, or what's he trying to tell me here. I have to hear what you're telling me, and then afterwards I can think back and go, oh damn, like there's all these layers to that. There's all these layers. So it's a really interesting feeling that you evoke when you perform, of just sit down, shut the fuck up, let me tell you something, and then you can go and think about it later.
The vanity in me wants to keep this going, but also the whole point of this, me doing this podcast thing, is to bring the guests on and talk to them about them. It's just was I love the Tyrone vibes here.
Tyrone, I could talk about you for hours.
Darling. To kind of finish off this kind of let's talk about section, like firstly with this, like I know we've not planned going back to Australia yet, and that's not been on the mind yet, but like,
Mum.
has there been any thought over or looking into like, is there a scene nearby, etc., and just keeping an eye on that yet, or is that going to be something that like when it's closest to the time you're looking like, is there a scene back home, etc.?
Yeah, because I was not exposed even in the slightest to anything before I came, I have no idea. I had a very, very brief conversation with Sam Brown once, because he did
spent some time
stand
out
up
there, didn't he? Yeah.
down under, and he mentioned something about a poetry scene, and I was like, great, you know more about it than I do.
Like, where Australia are you again?
I'm from Melbourne, so
Okay.
It is a cultural hub, and if there was a poetry scene in Australia and it had to pick a city, it would probably be Melbourne. Anyone from Sydney can fuck off. I'm kidding. I love Sydney ciders. That's online forever.
I mean, to be fair, I was going to say like if memory serves, one of the poets I know who came over here for a couple of years but is now back over was from Perth. So I know a couple of people that have like,
There's nothing there.
you know, but like
What's in Perth?
them.
Perth is flat. Nah, they've got good beaches. I'll give them that. Yeah, so I do believe that there is somewhat of a scene, and that is the extent of my knowledge about it. I do think that I'm obsessed enough with this art form and the community around it from my experiences here that if and when I do go back to Australia, sorry, Mum, when? Tyrone, if I go back.
That's the clip that Tyrone puts out here. Just leaving that, just like tag all of your Instagram accounts to make sure it gets back to your mum.
Yeah. Oh, my mum's my biggest fan. She follows all of them. But yeah, if and when I go back, it's definitely something that I would lean into again. Yes, it would be obviously a new scene and I'd be starting from scratch, but that doesn't faze me. It is just something that I think I will want in my life ongoing.
Nice. And then just to finish this all up, then obviously we're talking a lot of the whole like the cultural differences and whatnot, and just generally getting to know the scene here. But like, given that we had the theatre background as well, this is just to put things in the ether now. The one woman show. Ever a temptation, is that going to be the thing at some point?
Oh my gosh. A poet who I absolutely adore, Teresa, she recently did her one woman show. It was absolutely phenomenal. It sold out. And she gave me like a snippet of one of the pieces that she did earlier this week. And it was phenomenal. She's phenomenal. And I look at her and the way that she performs, and we spoke about every poet having their distinctive style, and she absolutely has such an individual style. And so I look at her and the way that she performs, and I say, obviously you've done a one-woman show. Someone like Taya, the way that she performs, obviously you've done a one-woman show. That is not something that I think is on the cards for me at the moment. It's really funny that you mentioned it. I was talking to someone about this 2 days ago, one-woman shows and putting on a show, and whether that was something I would ever do. And 2 days ago, my answer was, one, I don't think that I have the material for it, whether that's me being too harsh a critic on myself and thinking that, I don't have enough pieces that are quote unquote good enough for a show, or whether it's just a case of, would I want it to be around a theme or this and that. I won't lie to you, conceptually I've thought about it. If I were to put on a show, what would that look like? But definitely at the moment, that is not an aspiration that I have. I'm just starting to get some really cool opportunities for, a little headline set here or there. And I think that, 10 to 15 minutes is enough at the moment.
So we're going to offer you an hour tomorrow.
Great. Excellent. Sign me up. I'll do the same 4 poems 3 times each.
Now, I remember coming out of lockdown, I was working with the Albany Theatre in Deptford, and because it was coming out of lockdown, they were just starting to bring events back, and they've got the garden space there, and they said Tyrone, we want to start getting events back here. We're going to give you a set amount of money, and we're going to give you an hour slot to do whatever you want with it. And my first thought was cool, not just me. Whatever, because it was basically me producing it as well, as I will produce it, and it's as much as the vanity in me is I've got an hour to do whatever I want to. It's
they have to listen.
Yeah, it's not on my own. Which meant that I brought my friend Kayla in on it, and that kind of was low-key the accidental birth of process, because us working together was this worked really well and this fit. We should do more of this. And the hour of things is daunting, but.
I would love to curate a show. Absolutely. That's just an excuse to get your friends and favorite poets up.
I
personal Spotify playlist, but live.
I run 2 events, which basically means I get to book my friend all the time just to do stuff. And literally with One Night Slam, I'm at the stage now where thankfully it's in a position where the slam is very good and is bringing out good people for whether it's the love of competition, the want of money, the surprisingly I've made a weirdly good community out of it, or they want a fucking good video, whatever the reason is, and all of those are valid, that's fine. It's that does the good bits about it, that because that stuff is working as is, I can just bring my very talented friends down to feature and host, etc.
Yeah.
And obviously, they're very talented. They're good hosts. They're good features. That's just a bonus kind of thing. Yeah. But it's just, cool, friends, come hang out for me for the night. It's cool. I can just...
Exactly. Come hang out with me for the night.
So Kofi started his night that was going to probably be reoccurring. So we're looking for you to start your night very soon as well, where you produce all things. And eventually at night, you're going to give yourself a 1 hour slot to do your own show. Looking forward to it.
My reoccurring event will just be, this is an hour show for whoever I happen to be, my hyperfixation poet for the month.
If Sam Brown can do Sam Brown and friends, you can do the same thing, clearly.
Exactly.
Yeah, you've both got the same Instagram reach right now. Well, yes, we're going to leave the Let's Talk About section there, and now we're going to move on to the clearly more chaotic section that is slow fire questions. So, yes, we're going to do my quick fire questions section. So slow fire questions, I should say, even. Yeah, and a quick fire questions is a whole different thing, and I'm not doing that again. No, I'm not.
All 100. Let's go.
That's a podcast in of itself. Don't No, don't. The amount of podcast ideas I've low-key had is not good for me. I should not have bought podcast mic because it makes me want to do all the podcasting things, but... For this podcast, we end with slow fire questions. Basically, I used to do a thing called quick fire questions where I'd ask people as many questions as I could in 3 minutes. Always fun answers to be had there. But with that, I think some of these answers deserve more time, so we're going to give them more time. Now, we aim to go for 5 of these, so we're going to do 5 of these. So can you please give me a random number in between 1 and 100?
33.
Then we are starting off with, are you organised?
Oh. Straight call out. I like to say that I'm the most type B, type A personality you've ever met in your life. I am organized. I think that sometimes my organizational systems only make sense to me.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean I'm not organized. I love a pattern. I think I said that earlier. I am such a structure and routine driven person. But that being said, I love to be spontaneous. So I almost organize my spontaneity to make sure that I have space for it, but that it's not going to freak me out.
So I've always, my flatmate Siobhan, we have joked about the fact that I am the schedule person, she is the spontaneous person. Something that's also partly because she is studying her master's right now, so there's only so much she can even play around with to begin with anyway. But like, I am very much that person. It's like, cool, well, I know what I'm doing for the next 2.5 weeks now, so I will say, do you want to hang out April 10th at this time, at this place, etc.? Because I know that's the next time I'm free, kind of thing. And she's the kind of person like, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow yet, so
yeah,
but like with that, it's the thing of like, I know which days I'm definitely busy, which means which days I'm not busy. It's like, cool, that's free game. And if you want to,
exactly,
if something comes up the day before, the day after, or not the day after, that would make no sense, Tyra. But like,
retroactively, no, sorry. Can we take back the hangout? We had to have something to do instead.
Oh god, that'd be the most insulting. No.
I wish I hadn't hung out with you. I would have rather have done my washing.
I mean, I do think that every now and then I'm like, this is fine, but like, I could have just been at home and watched freaking...
Oh my God. I could have been doing my laundry. Like...
And it's not even that I didn't like this thing, but there's things of like, I can feel I'm tired and like, this is nice, but I only have so many free days.
Yeah.
So, no. But no, I feel you in that thing of like, there are some... Especially now that I'm doing some more freelance stuff, there are things that I have to be somewhat organised about. But also with that, because a lot of the stuff is just me working to myself, I only have to be organised for my... Like when I had Siobhan move in, it was that realisation of like, this house makes sense to me.
Yeah.
When someone else comes in here and almost politely questions something, it's like, that is a smarter idea. That does make more sense. But I've like... dumb things of like the pizza trays have always been over here kind of thing. It's like there's cupboard space here, why is it not in there? And it's like, I don't know why, it just isn't.
That's just where they go.
No.
Yeah, I'm a control freak who loves to be surprised, which is an awkward balance for a lot of people to get. Like, I love to plan parties. I love planning my birthday party like to the T. But my greatest wish in life is for someone to give me a surprise birthday party. Which, how do you do that when I'm planning my own birthday party 3 months in advance? And yet I'm like, but also, I wish I had a surprise party. Look, I don't claim to understand myself, but...
I mean, I will say, I think I was at Sarthak's birthday recently. I'm already in my head of, I'm having to say recently rather than saying on Sunday. I know... At time of recording, it was on Sunday, but for when you're listening to it, I do this to myself. This is not good.
Sarthak will listen to this episode and be like, my birthday wasn't 2 days ago.
I mean, to be fair, his birthday was in January.
Sarthak, what are you doing? Have a party. No.
So his birthday was in January, but so his partner does a lot of acting jobs, and some of them are not in the country. So I think there's also just a mix of just like people were not all here kind of thing, that like you could do something for the birthday, but like half your friends aren't going to be here, and if you're not going to do it on the birthday, why do it 2 weeks after? You can actually wait to make sure
and get everyone there. Oh, that's lovely.
But like that was a proper surprise thing for Sarthak.
See, and that very organised.
Yeah, well, that was most people organising for Sarthak, and I blessed them. From what I can understand, it was basically partner had told Sarthak, we're doing a thing together on this day, and I'm not going to tell you what this thing is, etc. kind of basically. And
See, that's beautiful. That's what I need. Oh, my future partner is going to be the best. Carry on.
give me another number, please.
9.
Ooh, you're getting some good ones here.
Oh.
Drunkest you've ever been. That you can say on camera.
That I can say on camera. Mum, turn it off.
I say this as Tyrone is drinking alone right now.
Yeah, I've got tea. And here's the tea about the drunkest I've ever been. Yeah, okay. 2 instances come to mind, and they were both when I was in my younger adult years. I was legal. Oh, actually, I was legal for both of them.
I'm not fact checking.
So there was one time. So when I first turned 18, you don't really need the context, but essentially I graduated high school a year before I turned 17 in my last year of high school, which meant most of my friends turned 18 in their last year of high school. So I didn't turn 18 until after I'd graduated high school. However, my birthday being in April means back home, that's like the very start of the uni semesters. Which meant that I graduated high school, so left all my high school friends, had just started university, but didn't really have a group of friends at university yet. And so very kindly, my best friend said, well, one of our high school friends is having their 19th birthday party. Why don't you come to that? And it'll be because it'll be a big party. We're all going out. My first time going to a club, and you'll have friends. And I was like, great, let's do that. So keeping in mind, most of my friends had like a year of drinking experience.
They were used to it by that stage.
Right? My drinking experience had been like, sneaking like some vodka in a water bottle in the back of the schoolyard, not at school, or, sharing one vodka cruiser with my mother in the kitchen. So I didn't have a lot of drinking experience. And so went to this party and they had pre-drinks, and my best friend, bless her heart, was like, right, I'd brought my own like 4-pack of ciders, and I was like, this is going to be my drinks. And my friend looked at that and said, okay. I then proceeded to drink all 4 of those ciders. I did shots of vodka. I did shots of tequila. We had Fireball. There were like vodka mixed drinks and everything. I'm proud to say that I made it past the pre-drinks. There were some girls who didn't make it past pre's.
Yeah.
I did. We got to the club that we were going to, got into the club, had more drinks, more shots, more vodka mixed with something. And then I started to feel not so good. And I was like, I think I'm going to take myself to the bathroom because I think I might throw up. I was being very logical in my drunk little brain. But then I stood up and went to cross the dance floor, and it hits you, when you are that drunk that it just hits you. And I threw up all over the side of the dance floor in this crowded club. It didn't hit anyone, thank God, but just fully in public inside this club. I was promptly and politely escorted out of said club by security. I walked outside and then realized that none of my friends knew where I was. I didn't have my bag, my keys, my phone, my wallet, anything. And so I logically just turned around and went to walk back into the club. And the bouncer politely was like, no, stay there. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Everything I am is in that club. They made me drink a bottle of water outside the club. They were like, drink this whole bottle of water, like sit there and sip it. Yeah. And then we'll talk. So I did that, sipped my bottle of water, came back, presented myself and said, I don't want to be here anymore. I just need to go inside, get my friends, get my shit and go home. I just want to go home. And the bouncer looked at me and said, all right, go in, and come back out. I was like, great, thank you so much. Walked back into this club, walked up the stairs, walked straight to the bathrooms, threw up again.
Yeah.
straight away.
Yeah.
Then when I found my friends, they were like, oh, hey. I was like, did you notice I'd been gone? They were like, nope. I was
Yeah.
like, cool,
That's
classic.
clubs. That's clubs.
Classic.
That's clubs.
And then proceed to stay there for another 3 hours.
Strong.
Every like 20 minutes, I'd go back into the bathroom a few times to throw up. And then eventually I wasn't drunk enough to need to throw up anymore, but I was still so drunk that because I like patterns, I just kept doing it.
Were you still drinking?
I was still drinking.
There you go.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the drunkest. And that was the first time being like proper throw up everywhere drunk.
So essentially your first proper night
My
out
first
was also
night out.
the first with...
And you know what? It did not deter me.
Never should. Fair play. Cool. Let's see if we get you a nicer question for your third one. Give me another number,
just
please.
Calling me out.
See, like, I've said it last time on one of these of like, no one sees these questions. I could change them, but I'm also such a person of like integrity
very
of like
integral
the numbers have been the same always kind of thing, and it's
Zoom
like
in on that. Let me see.
but it's like I've kept these numbers from the past and like I don't know anyone who listens to this podcast so religiously and goes, someone said 9 last time and you asked a different question. But there's part of me is like, but you said 9. Like, you said it.
You gotta.
Give me another number, please.
I'll go close. 13.
13. Then we are going for biggest inspiration.
Oh, do I get to pick like in what sense?
I purposely leave some of these questions that vague. I think like biggest inspiration. You can choose whatever level vibe thing you want for this.
Oh, okay. I'm going to be super egotistical. I'm going to say myself.
Nice.
I think that I inspire myself to do things a lot. I joked about it earlier. I was like, I've never met a thing I wouldn't try twice. Yeah. But that is very true for me, and it's something that I'm very proud of in myself. It is what allows me to do things like move across the world on a whim, literally on a whim. I had a friend say, you should move to London with me. And I said, okay, why not? What is stopping me? And I often joke that I'm the person with the most amount of FOMO that you've ever met in your life. And to an extent that is true, because I just have such a fear of missing out on something. It could be anything, and I might not enjoy it after I've done it, but I just want to be able to say that I've done it. And that has applied to so much of my life and has led me to have what I think is a very interesting life. I've done a lot of interesting things purely because I am inspired by the fact that I don't want to be boring. I don't want to sit around and have my 9 to 5, and then I go and do shit like be a professional mermaid on the outside. So
I was waiting for the mermaid to come up on the podcast. The part of my head is like, haven't ticked that one off
you're
yet.
like, you've got bingo of Chelsea. You're like, talk about the mermaid, talk about the modeling. It allows me to do the idea of who I could be and what I could do with my life inspires me to try my hardest to do that. That is not to say that I don't have a lot of inspirations in my life, inspirational people in my life outside of myself, but I do hold firm that it is so important to be inspired by yourself to do things, because motivation is a finite resource and you have to just get in the habit of doing things for yourself.
And here I am. I'm motivated by spite.
Oh, that too. Yeah, absolutely.
Give me another number, please.
Oh, I don't want to be basic and say like 50 or 100 or something. Go 99. 98. I was born in 98, so 98.
Difference between friendships and relationships.
Oh, damn.
You did that to yourself just then.
I did do that. And that's such an interesting question, because all friendships are relationships.
Yes.
And all relationships, I think, should have a friendship in them.
Should, yes, but doesn't mean they do.
Doesn't always, no. I will say that a lot of the time, and I think this is kind of a basic bitch answer, like you can separate it out by things like romance or sexual connection and things like that. There are friends that I wouldn't sleep with. There are friends that I would sleep with.
Which is, yeah. I say that because for context, I started doing these quick fire questions. I want to say like, let's say 2016, I've been doing it for 10 years. I don't know actually, but like, even in this last 10 years, when I was asking people about it, I think it was an easy one to say, oh, sex is a difference. But then whether it's culture or growing up or whatever, there's been a lot more, not every friend, but no, I would have sex with a friend and it would still be a friend thing, etc.
Yeah.
So that...
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think with the sex thing, it can be quite easy to differentiate because like sex can be fun. Like that's just a fun physical activity. Yeah. And then you can get deeper and deeper into the intimacy side, and that can tip over, I think, for me into that's relationship territory. Like I wouldn't, to use a cliche term or phrase, I wouldn't make love to a lot of my friends.
Yes.
I might have sex with them, but I'm not making love to them.
Yeah.
And I think that in terms of differentiating friendships and relationships, every relationship that you have, romantic or friend-wise, so romantic or platonic or whatever it is, will give you something different. That's a very common and well-established concept. I think that friendships, it is easier to get less of something from someone. You might have really good banter with this friend. You might have gone to university together with that friend, so you've got shared history. You might share a hobby with that friend, so that's the thing. I think that for me, it is important in a relationship, because in a relationship, that person becomes my person, like that they become such a pillar in my life. For me, the difference is that a relationship must be able to give me more of those things in one person. I'm not saying that your relationship should be able to give you everything.
Yeah.
I think that that is almost impossible to achieve, but it should be able to hit more of the important parts of your life than a friend would.
And not that we need the context here, but that's also coming from a monogamous viewpoint as well in looking at relationships and friendships there, I'm assuming.
I've tried a lot of different structures of a relationship. Yeah. I think that even in take a polyamorous situation where you have multiple intimate romantic partners that are, we'll say, on a level playing field, all of those partners are going to give you a lot of the pillars of your life. They are going to satisfy a lot of different threads. Whereas your friendships, because then you think, okay, well, if you're in a polycule with, say there's 3 of you, just for ease, if you've got a polycule of 3 people and you've got a huge social circle, well, again, what's the difference? Why aren't you dating all of those people? And it's because in terms of emotional bandwidth, you want to be known to such a level that all of friendships, all of relationships are all hierarchical. Hierarchical?
Hierarchical. No, yes, oh God.
Edit that out.
Trying to figure out how it works. No, I don't edit anything.
We'll edit that in post. You'll just hear like a really different voice. Hierarchical.
I'm not putting any AI voices in this.
No. They are ranked for better or worse. Only certain people will be able to know you to a certain depth. And so for me, switching, or I guess shifting from friendship to relationship, for me, that is dependent on how deeply does this person know me? How deeply does this person satisfy me in the ways that I need to be? And depending on the answers to the first 2, how much of myself am I allowing to be supported by one, or in the case of poly or whatever, a few key individuals?
Perfect. And that now leaves us with one last question. Again, you seem to have been drawn to the more intense ones, so we'll see how this goes.
Oh my gosh.
I like how this is the more chaotic section. No, this is the more thought-provoking section today. Yeah, one last number to finish us off here.
One of my favorite people's favorite numbers, 23.
23. Then we are going for, okay, it's a bit more chill. I'd like to think favorite musician.
Oh,
I mean, it's hard to answer, but that doesn't feel as...
It is. And I will say this changes a lot.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have the opportunity to pull like a really contextual Australian answer. Amazing. At the moment, my favorite artist is a duo from Australia. Their stage or performance name is Oceanique. And they have the most incredible, ethereal, most like, how do I even describe this? It's almost like folksy, but elves. Like imagine like the elves of Rivendell in a duet singing. Like their harmonies are insane. The registers they get to are insane. And I'm a very heavy lyrics person when it comes to music. And their lyrics are so poignant and beautiful. And they sing a lot about Australia and about home and the way that they view Australia, the lens that they put our country through is just beautiful. It is just beautiful. Yeah, I would have to say them at the moment, but that's not a very widespread answer.
It didn't ask for widespread.
Yeah,
it asked,
no,
what
that's
is your
true.
favorite musician?
I finally got the opportunity to talk about something so nichely Australian. And it's, Oceanique.
That perfect. Well,
Go give them a listen.
Yeah, that is the podcast. Thank you very much for being on this and doing this with me.
Thank you so much for letting me yap for an hour and a bit.
Oh, hour and a half.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
We're cool. You have a camera here that the battery may or not have been changed midway through this podcast. We'll see if we can tell.
Don't worry about it.
But if you want to promote yourself and any or all of the Instagrams, etc., you have a camera here. Plug yourself and your things you have coming up.
Oh my gosh, yes. Hi, I'm Chelsea Beechwood. You can find me at crb.poetry. That's Charlie Romeo Bravo. Fun fact, I know the phonetic alphabet. My dad trained as a pilot. Charlie Romeo Bravo .poetry on Instagram. You will find me at most poetry nights. By the time this comes out, hopefully I'm not spoiling anything. You can find me very soon at Poets Palace. I'll be headlining their event on the 5th of April, so the 5th of this month. But otherwise, you can mainly find me at the Echo Chamber, which I host semi-regularly whenever Micah will let me. And otherwise, if you see me out and about, come and say hi. I'm still making friends. I'm still learning this community, and it is the greatest privilege of my life thus far.
I'm not making friends. I'm not doing that. I'm done with the friends thing. That we're over now.
You've made enough.
I'll talk to you off camera about stuff. But yeah, like, I mean, it's a process podcast. I can plug some process stuff, but if you're here, you probably already know about process stuff. So we're good. We're chill. I mean, as long as you're following us, which I hope you are, we're good. We're chill. Cool. As I like to end all my things, we love you all. Now fuck off. Goodbye, everyone.